The histories of the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad and the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal were intertwined from the beginning. Both lines began construction on the same day, July 4th, 1828. There were rivals throughout this time period, including through the Civil War and beyond. When we go into the construction period, the C&O Canal Company had a number of problems that delayed the construction of the canal, caused the company to go into heavy debt. One of those problems was a 4-year legal battle with the B&O Railroad over the right to build the line through the narrow river valley from Harper's Ferry, actually from Point of Rocks, the whole way to Cumberland, Maryland. That 4-year legal battle stopped construction of the canal company, of the canal itself, and drained the canal company's resources. The B&O Railroad did reach Cumberland, Maryland before the C&O Canal, in fact 8 years earlier. Before the canal company reached Cumberland, it had come to an agreement with the B&O Railroad, and in that agreement the railroad agreed to transport coal opposite Hancock, Maryland, and then boat it over to the canal at Hancock. When the canal company reached Cumberland, Maryland, coal quickly became its primary article of transport. The B&O Railroad was one of 3 rail lines that delivered coal to the canal at Cumberland. During that decade before the Civil War, the canal company experienced a number of problems, mainly weather-related. The worst flood in the recorded history of the Potomac River Valley in 1852 and 1857, a series of floods caused breaches in dam numbers 4 and 5 near Williamsport. So the canal company had these series of problems, weather-related, in the decade before the Civil War that put its financial footing in a very precarious state. In fact, its bankruptcy was openly predicted. In the meantime, the B&O Railroad was making a heavy profit. It was the dominant carrier of Cumberland coal. With the beginning of the Civil War, it sort of leveled the playing field a bit. When the Confederates occupied the Harper's Ferry, and when they evacuated, they disabled both carriers. But the canal was reopened about 6 months earlier than the B&O Railroad in late August of 1861. And for a couple of months it transported coal. The B&O Railroad was in disrepair.
Last night, about 12 o'clock, a splendid meteor fell from the sky, carrying a train as large as a cable, gradually increasing in brilliancy till it burst behind the Virginia mountains with a light, momentary in duration, like that of a conflagration. Nearly every day straggling shots are fired upon our guards and upon the canal boats, thus far without damage, and almost nightly some quaking or startled sentinel discerns signals or moving lights upon the far-off hills of Virginia, in the lightning bugs that hover but a few yards from his post, and discharge their pieces at innocent and unsuspecting swine, whose movements they mistake for the clatter of horsemen or the tromp of rebels. But no such rude alarms now disturb the stillness of the quarters, unless the drum sounds the long roll to fall in. We are keeping guard on the canal. Sentinels are posted for 20 or 30 miles at about 200 paces apart. If anything should happen, the word is passed along lively. The band, stationed in front of Colonel Leonard's tent, has just commenced to play, and the music sounds sweetly, reminding me when, with my sweetheart, we used to go and hear them on Boston Common. The boys are in tip-top health and engage in all kinds of amusements. They have a circus and menagerie every night, and you would be amused to hear the doorkeeper address the outsiders on the wonderful performances of the animals. The absence of the 2 kinds of provisions make our morning ration a rather slim affair, mere bread and coffee, and perhaps a piece of cold beef if you are hungry. Bread and milk, eggs, pies, cakes, fruits and vegetables make such meals endurable. At tea, we occasionally have a beefsteak, which goes off Right smart, I reckon, as they say around here. The rations are not yet what they should be, but no one goes hungry. When a chicken can be had for 16 cents, eggs boiled for 15 cents per dozen, tomatoes, pears, apples, 2 for a cent, pies of all kinds for 10 cents, and biscuits and butter are right cheap, there is no danger of a moneyed soldier starving. I miss your pear and summer squashes, however. In place thereof, till lately I had boiled corn, I need not say, foraged. The mill was burned Sunday, August 18, 1861. Both Noyes and Ramsey mention it in letters home. Noyes Company B had been posted a couple of miles away from the ford at Antietam Village and did not know who was responsible for the burning of the mill, but mentioned it in a letter to his father dated August 28, 1861. He writes, "The Sunday Herald, August 18th, contains the roll of all the companies which belong to the 4th Battalion. You will find a very interesting letter in the transcript of August 22nd, written by Corporal Cundy of Company A. It gives a fine account of our experience at Antietam, minus the fleas. The fire he mentions was that of a mill in Virginia from which shots were fired at us. I do not know who set it on fire, perhaps a Union man. The blaze was magnificent." James Ramsey's Company E was posted at the ford, and in a letter to his father dated October 9th, James wrote, "While we were at Shepherdstown, we were in a dangerous position which we did not realize. Our camp was situated on a hill within rifle range of the rebels on their side of the river, and they had thick foliage besides a 4-story factory, which some of our company burnt. Because it was a good place of protection against our firing, they could pick off our guard without danger from our rifles." I was on yesterday and last night. We stand at our posts 6 hours at a time. We run with messages from our posts to the next, and he runs to the next man, and so on, till the message gets through. I run with 4 messages yesterday morning. I did not have to run in the night. About midnight, I saw a blue rocket in Virginia towards the southeast. Near morning, some sentinels saw a red one, then a green one towards the southwest. Probably they were signals of the rebels. Our quarters are situated on the canal at one of the locks. This morning, I had a ride on one of the canal boats while it passed through the locks. A canal boat does not look anything like the pictures I have seen of them. By the way, the canal is the Ohio and Chesapeake Canal. At the time of writing this letter, I am sitting in the shade of an oak tree between the canal and the Potomac River on the towpath. In front is the Virginia bank of the Potomac. The river at this place is full of rapids. I am near the gap in the mountains. On my right hand is Harper's Ferry. The parts I can see are principally the dwelling houses and one church that sits on the hill. The river at that place makes a curve towards the northwest, and the mountains in Maryland hide the rest of Harper's Ferry from my view.
Most people don't realize that during this time period, the Beaner Railroad sent coal on canal boats to Sandy Hook, where it was offloaded onto railroad cars in Maryland and they used that coal in Baltimore and on the Washington branch of the Beano Railroad, which ran between Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. Similarly, in 1862, after the Battle of Antietam, both carriers were out of order, but the Canal Company repaired its line 3 months earlier than the railroad, and once more the Beano Railroad sent coal down the canal, offloaded the Sandy Hook so they could keep their trains moving between Baltimore and Washington.